Welcome to Uncorked and Uncut, Email Marketing Friends at Home, a vodcast with a new guest each episode, and your hosts, Kath Pay and Ryan Phelan.
Cloud, see if it helps. When I record to this computer, I get stuttery. But in the playback, it looks fine.
No.
Do I look stuttery to you guys?
No.
Okay. We'll try this. 3, 2, 1. Hi, friends. Welcome to Uncorked and Uncut, episode I don't know what. Welcome to glad to have everybody with us today. Along with my partner in crime, Kath Pay, we are honored to have Skip Fidura in the house from his kitchen. Clearly, Skip is in your house, yes. Skip is, we're all wearing aprons, so that means at some point we're going to cook. So this will test all of our skills, but I'll let Skip talk to that in a little bit. Skip, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm very good. I have to say that this is the most surreal thing I've ever done. Ever.
In the description, we should have put this will be the most surreal thing you ever watch.
That's probably true. That's definitely going to be true.
So Kath and I have known Skip for forever. I can't even remember the first time I met you. It was a long time ago. I don't know. It's weird about this industry. You just happen to meet people, you know them. And Kath talked about this on the last episode with Kate. Was like Kath and I knew of each other, and then one day we met and was like, "Oh, that's you," and then we just hit it off. And I think that for a lot of the industry, that's just how it's happened.
It is. That's very much how it happens. And I actually think I met you at probably the first email innovations. Not innovations, email, what's the other one?
Insider.
No.
Experience.
Oh.
Experience.
Yeah, email experience. Yeah. One of those email conferences.
One of those email things.
There was a really early one out in San Diego.
Yes. That's the first one.
I did, it was the first one. And I think, Ryan, I met you there because you were based there at the time. That was where I met Karen Talaveria. She and I had never met, and last minute we're told you guys are doing a panel together, almost like a debate thing. It was agency versus brand, because that's when I was working at Ogilvy One.
Right.
Some other shenanigans went down at that conference as well, involving some Australian Navy SEALs. Yes. But, yeah. Good times.
And you and I met Skip at the DMA Email Marketing Council.
Yes, yeah. We must have met before that. But yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think that was the first time I met you. But that was early, that was that was probably 2005.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably all around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
So Skip, tell us where you've been in your life. Give us a brief rundown of your career.
Yeah, cool. We're all fascinated by your English accent.
Yes, yeah, it's so fluid. I mean, you live in the UK. It rolls off the tongue.
That's the first thing. Is I pride myself in never having adopted the English accent. I use English words, so like I'll talk about going to uni as opposed to going to college, or I know the parts of the car, the boot and the bonnet. Mm-hmm. Those kinds of things. But when I moved here in 2000, Madonna had just moved here, and she had the most horrendous English accent. And so my wife, Christine, and I just decided, you know what? We're not ever doing that. Our daughter, though, who's born here, Ellie, when she wants one, she can turn on she makes the Queen sound a bit common. Her accent's so posh.
Really?
Yeah. So how did I get here? Well, actually, the story of how I got here is pretty fascinating. You have to remember, this is back in the day before mobile phones or cell phones. And I was working for a company, actually, Ryan, you worked for, in a different guise for a while, Digital Impact. And so we'd only been living in California. I moved to California in January. Christy had moved out the previous September or October. And we get to, I don't know, it was probably mid to late summer. And we've got this London office. We need somebody to go out there for 6 months and kind of, you know, inject our culture. We're going to hire a local team, but we need somebody to kind of create that bridge back to headquarters and, you know, with culture and training and processes and all that kind of stuff. And I was lucky enough to be offered the first 6 months secondment. Went home, pitched it to Christy. I even did a PowerPoint, I think. And I'm pretty sure I figured out a way to connect my laptop to the TV, which in those days was actually that
was a thing.
Sure. And so after dinner, I went through the PowerPoint, and she said no, basically, just no. And I'm like, okay. So the next day I'm in the office, and I haven't said anything to anybody because I kind of think, I know there's a way. I haven't figured it out yet, but there's a way I can get this to work. And came back to my desk, and again, no mobile phones. This is when everybody had a phone on their desk, and my message light is blinking, and I'm thinking, which client is upset about what now? And picked up the phone, checked my messages, and all I heard on the recording was Christy saying, "Can't talk now. London is a go. See you tonight." Click.
That sounds like you're a secret agent or something.
I know, right? It's like, you know, and then the phone burst into flame or something. Yeah. And she had been sitting in a meeting at, you know, so the way we got out to California was her company had been acquired, and they were launching the product that her company had built in Europe. And they said, you know, if only somebody could go to Europe for 6 months who knows the product and teach them how to sell it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was fate. It was complete fate. I mean, there were some downsides. I feel really, really bad for the couple who had rented us their beautiful, beautiful home in Bernal Heights. They had been on a secondment to, or a 3-year expat deal to Singapore. And they had gone through a lot of trouble to interview us and make sure that we were going to take care of their house. And, you know, they were really expecting us to live there the whole time they were gone. They were really irritated that about 6 months later, we moved out essentially for 6 months. Needless to say, they didn't renew our lease.
Right.
Yeah. So I felt, you know, I still feel bad for them. But yeah.
So digital impact to where?
Digital impact to, so I got very, very lucky. Digital impact had been the target of a couple of not friendly takeover attempts. So they put a bunch of stuff in our contracts, and luckily I was still on an American contract. So when Axiom bought them, my role it really was superfluous. You know, they didn't need a director of European operations. We just became part of a really big company.
Yeah.
And, but I had this guaranteed severance package that, you know, I was able to work. Yeah, that was great. And then they needed me to stay on a little bit longer than they originally announced. And, you know, that just made the whole deal better. So when I left there, it was right as my daughter was being born. And I spent a year, you know, just being at home and consultancy and that kind of thing. And that, just a consultancy gig led to Ogilvy One. So I was basically Jeannie Mullen's European counterpart.
Yeah.
We both kind of were doing the exact same thing at the same time. And then somebody said, you guys ought to meet. And we did.
That's cool. And then from there, it's history.
From there, it's history. From there, it's then 10 years at, or almost 10 years at, I'm going to call it Dot Mailer.
Mailer. It's always Dot Mailer. I don't know what else to call it except Dot Mailer.
No. And if, actually, if you listen to Chris Marriott's presentation from Email Innovations last week, they shouldn't have changed the name.
Yeah.
So 10 years there. And then wound up there. My last day there was actually Black Friday of 2018.
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was
that time has flown.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow.
I know. So now I'm a fractional CMO working for, the only company I'm currently working for is a company called the Overmore Group, which is another marketing technology all about validating, verifying, and vindicating the data you collect on your website and making sure that before you stick it in your database, it's not garbage, it's contactable, and it fits with who you want to contact.
Yeah. Very cool. The fractional CMO stuff is fun.
Yeah, and Ryan, I gotta say, I've said it loads, but publicly on your thing. If you hadn't used the phrase, I never would have thought of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw that on Ryan's, when Ryan left Adestra, he started using that term, and I'm like, oh, I love that. I'm stealing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I told him I was going to steal it at the time. I called him and said, hey, I'm going to steal that.
You did ask permission, and I'm like, yeah, sure, go.
Is that a known phrase? Because over here it's not really,
The fractional movement has taken off in the last probably 5 years. Not only CMO, but CFO, CTO.
Yeah.
Appealing to the mid-market, upper mid-market space, lower enterprise. And what I've found, and Skip may have a different perspective in the UK, is generally it's companies that can't afford or don't have the structure, the corporate structure for a full-time CMO, but need somebody to come in and point their marketing department in the right way, vet ideas, present new ideas and new ways to do things, maybe help with a marketing plan. So if you cut out core components of what a CMO does, the fractional CMO comes into a business and says, okay, of this list of stuff, what do you need help with? Or is it just a general pot and you want a general amount of hours? Yeah. And so it's great because the role in itself does not necessarily require you do any work. It's giving advice and pointing and lecturing. I do a lot of decks. I do a lot of briefs. But it's not the nitty gritty, hey, I'm getting into the platform and doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, right? we're it's funny, I was just editing a blog post before we started recording this about trying to really introduce the notion of a fractional CMO in the UK market cap. And what I was saying is exactly what Ryan says. It's a company that needs to up their marketing game for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. What I've found for me, the companies that have been most responsive have been the ones that are going from startup to scale up. They tend to be tech companies. The founder tends to be a techie. Yep. Doesn't know much about marketing. Somehow ended up with a marketing team, a few marketing people. And, as Ryan says, the biggest challenge that they have is they just don't have anybody to ask questions of.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to say, I don't think this is working. But can you validate my math? Or can you, help me? How can I pivot this, how we're using this channel to make it more effective? Or should we be putting more money into channel A or channel B?
Okay. That's really interesting because that's actually what a lot of what I do as a consultant as well. Certainly with my clients who are ongoing and they pay me a retainer. It's pretty much that.
Yeah. A consultant who's on retainer is essentially a fractional CMO. And I differentiate between what I do and what a consultant does. But I think about a traditional consultant that comes in and says, you need a marketing strategy. I'm going to come in. This is how many hours it's going to take me. I'm going to come in. I'm going to deliver that. Hopefully, from the consultant side, you hope that you deliver it faster, so you make a little extra margin. And then you also always have to worry about scope creep. but then it's, you know, it's very turnkey. It's like, here's the plan.
Yeah.
Hasta la vista. And, you know, so one of the things when I left Dot Mailer, you know, I've been on the strategy and consultancy side, either with a provider or an agency for 20 years, 20 plus years. And, you know, there was part of me that was like, do you have any idea? Like there was a bit of imposter syndrome. Not that I didn't know what I was talking about, but did what I was talking about work? Because I never really got the opportunity with a lot of the clients that we worked with at Dot Mailer. You know, you'd come in, you'd build the strategy, and then you know, they didn't want to pay to keep you around, and the company certainly couldn't afford for me to do free work. So you kind of never knew. You know, you'd bump into them at an event, and you'd say, how's it going? But that's not the time that they're going to get into, oh, well, you know, this tactic was a bomb, and you know, there's always platitudes and
I think that's probably one of the hardest things for us as a consultancy as well, is getting those case studies. You know, because often by the time that, you know, everything takes time. You don't want to be actually putting it together and then 2 weeks later, let's go and do the success, because we're talking about, you know, a whole strategy. We're talking about the impact that we have gone in and, you know, had on the actual business itself. So that's a long term. And then by the time, because you're not necessarily being retained, you've written a strategy, you've done the, you know, the audit beforehand and everything like this. And then by the time it's like ready, they've changed, and your contact is no longer there, and you can't just say, oh hey.
Well, and the other thing is that I'm not going to remember his name, but he was Prussian, a very famous Prussian general, who said that you know, a plan of battle lasts until first contact with the enemy, and marketing plans are the same way. The second you put your plan in the field, it has to change, it has to modify, it has to adapt, because you know, everything is fluid.
That's the whole approach with agile marketing.
Right.
And that whole practice. And I spend a lot of time teaching my clients what agile is and what it means, and how you change your thinking to accept good enough, right? And I think the fractional description that you gave on Doug's podcast, I thought was really accurate, that says a consultant is what David Baker used to call a pigeon. Pigeon drops in, does his thing, and flies away, right?
Drops in, poops, and leaves.
Yes, poops and leaves. You know, a family show. So, but the fractional role is, and you put it great, goes through training for new employees, shows up at customer or at company meetings, participates in the culture in order to inform the brand equity that helps them drive the strategy, that helps them drive the advice that you give. And so it's a much more immersive experience on a fractional level, because there's a lot of stuff I do I don't bill for, right? And you put it great in saying you look at meetings and interactions based on, can you add value?
Right.
But there's some things that I go to. So I have a client and I go to all their company meetings, and I go to their quarterly business review kind of things. And I don't charge for that necessarily unless I can add value in some way, but I want to learn what the speak is to the, you know, and I know all the stuff behind the scenes because I show up at executive meetings, but I want to see how employees react to it. I want to hear the discussion. I want to hear the tone and tenor. And I think that's what differentiates sometimes a consultant with a fractional role. But I have seen more inquiries on our side of the pond with the fractional stuff, because people right now with COVID and everything need that help to level up their game even faster, and they just can't wait. They just can't do it on their own.
Well, and there's a lot of other factors too, right? So if you go hire, if you're gonna go hire a full-time CMO, and how I got to this place was, so I left Dot Mailer, and as I said, I left on Black Friday. Well, nobody hires in December, so I didn't really do much of anything in December except reconnect with my network, people I hadn't talked to in years. I had a lot of coffee, a lot of lunches, a lot of beers in the pub. Oh, to have beers in the pub again, that'd be nice.
Oh,
anyway,
I know.
Lots of dinners, and got to January and got very far down in the conversation with a couple of different companies about roles and responsibilities and remuneration and all that kind of stuff, and went away. I can't remember where we went. We went away for the weekend, and at some point over the weekend, I had this epiphany. I was like, I just came out of a long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do that again. Like, do I want to jump right back into a long-term relationship? And so I, called the couple of CEOs that I've been in conversations with on the Monday, and I said, look, it's genuinely, it's not you, it's me, but this is where I am, and I kind of don't want. So I'm calling a halt to this whole thing. Both of the CEOs almost let out an audible sigh of relief, because they had probably spent the weekend or the previous week looking at, okay, we need somebody like that. We think Skip can add value. We think Skip's the right cultural fit. This is what he's told us he costs.
Right.
Oof. And both of them said, we could afford you, but it would be a stretch.
Yeah, and there would be pressure on you to perform, where it's that you're paying for the experience, not for that.
And you don't ever want to be the person. You don't ever want to be the employee where the person that signs off the payroll every month thinks to themselves, have we gotten that much value out of this person?
Yes, because then you're a measurable employee with an ROI in their head. And
right.
as a senior level, that's never good.
No, that's a straight road to unemployment.
Yes.
So they were both quite happy to go with, okay, well, as soon as they both said, oh, we were really struggling to think how, we can make this work. I'm like, well, what could you afford? And conveniently, they could each afford 2/5 of me.
Right.
Which, filled up my week and gave me my Fridays off.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. That's perfect. And I was very open and honest with both. And, because I think the other thing that makes it different than being a consultant is you don't ever want the client to feel like you've started the clock when they call. Right? That's very much a consultancy approach. So I'm available every day to both companies. I try to assign whole days to each.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody understands that if there's a meeting that you just can't move, if I have to step out, I'll go into a conference room and do somebody else's meeting in your conference room, and as long as you're cool with me doing that,
right. And
so,
I structure one of my clients like that. So I have my day rate, right, which is an hourly rate based on a straight 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is. But when I do on-site, I actually only charge them for 6.5, because they understand that I have other things to do and other businesses to run and other clients to have. And so me charging them 6.5 leaves me the permission to have an hour and a half granted for somebody else.
Right. And if you don't use it for somebody else, they get a bonus.
They get a bonus. They give me, they're taking me out for dinner anyway. I mean, it's, and I enjoy the people. So it's not necessarily about the hourly rate. It's about just compensating me for my time. But I need that flexibility so that I don't feel guilty, and I don't want them to feel like I'm taking advantage of them.
Yeah, because that's the other piece is well, Kath, you're going to be better equipped at this than either Ryan and I, because I only have one child. But it's kind of like having multiple children, right? And making sure that all the children feel like they're getting the same love and attention, and that all the others get. So there's a bit of managing that.
Yeah. So what are we all drinking this morning? I'm ready for a refill, but what are we all drinking?
Nice.
So I think we're all having mimosas. Is that right?
We are, except I've lost my Prosecco.
Did you put it back in the fridge?
I might have put it back in the fridge. I know this is really rude, but I gotta go behind you.
No, that's okay. We're gonna live refill our drinks before we cut to the kitchen part of this happy hour.
It was just hidden behind my computer.
Oh, there you go. See, mine's in the fridge. I gotta go all the way over here.
I should have done that too, actually.
Okay, so wait. Okay, well, Are we moving over now? Because I can take all my stuff if that is.
I think we should, as we pour new drinks, transition to the kitchen part of the show.
Okay.
For everybody sitting at home, I got Prosecco, little bottle. I love these little bottles.
Is it one of the ones with the screw cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those too. I've also got a Prosecco. I've got a big bottle. But luckily, I just bought
I've got a big bottle too.
one of these.
It's going to be challenging.
I can tell you that all those things that you heard about, putting a spoon in it doesn't work. There's nothing. The best I've come up with is in a pinch, 2 or 3 layers of here we call it cling film. In America, you'd call it saran wrap. And
what do you call it in America?
Saran wrap. It's a brand.
Oh.
Really tight over the top of the bottle with a rubber band.
Okay.
All right, so actually I have some rearranging.
Have we lost Ryan?
We did. He's on mute, and we just can see his headshot. I don't know if you can talk about him.
So, I've got my my floral pinny on. And you guys are, looking
We're not playing netball, Kath.
professional than me. What was that?
We're not playing netball. For the Americans, you're going to have to explain what netball is, because they don't know.
Netball?
What?
I have no idea what netball is.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's not an American thing.
Americans don't play netball.
No, we play basketball. We play a real sport.
How did I never know that?
Oh, is netball basketball over there?
No.
No, because it's the best way to describe it. It's pure basketball. 2-step rule, right?
Yeah.
No dribbling.
No.
So it's just passing, and this is the more amazing part. There's no backboard, so you just have the hoop.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So you got to get all net all the time.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's more pure, but it plays havoc with your knees. So most netballers, like I had to stop playing netball, as did my daughter, because we're too flexible. We've got that sort of thing where we tend to have desiccated everything. So we both had to stop doing it in our teens and everything because of, like that. You literally, once you get the ball, you have to stop. You
Really?
can't even stumble. You can't do anything like that. And so the pressure that's taken on your knees is quite significant. I learned something today. It never even occurred to me. I know because, we play softball and baseball and basketball and netball and
Right.
never knew. There you go.
Huh. Learn something new every day.
Hey,
Ryan,
Ryan, can you turn
Yes.
your speaker up? Your mic up?
Oh. There, how's that?
Oh,
that's
much better.
better.
There you go.
I forgot I switched from one microphone to the other. I had to move a whole rig over here. All
Okay,
right,
so
Skip, what are we cooking today?
we are cooking Christmas scrambled eggs. Now, I appreciate it's June.
Yes.
Christmas in June.
Christmas in June.
It's COVID has screwed all kinds of things up, including Christmas.
Well, it could be. So these special eggs or these scrambled eggs are for special occasions. So it could be, Mother's Day scrambled egg or a Father's Day scrambled egg. We happen to break them out, bust them out on Christmas morning.
Well, it takes me back to home because in Australia, we actually have, in order for us to get a little bit of the Christmas, the Northern Hemisphere Christmas feel, we have Christmas in June, July type events.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you go up to like the mountains where it's slightly cold and maybe if you're lucky you could have a fire or something. And you say, I'm just pretending it's like that.
There we go. Well, my in-laws have moved into the house, and so they were very excited that I was going to make them breakfast like this.
Oh,
Oh, so you're making it for them as well, are you?
Yeah, I doubled the recipe so that they could come down and have some.
nice.
And then I have some sous vide bacon to do at the end.
Now,
You may have to explain what sous vide is too, you know.
Sure. So sous vide is, let me see if I can get the camera for a hot second here. I'll move. This will be like mobile, whatever. Okay, so this device right here, sous vide is a style of cooking. And so it's a water immersion technique. And so that device that you see there is the machine, and it circulates the water within 1/10 of a degree of whatever you've set. And then whatever protein you make goes in a bag, so you can see the bacon right there in the bag in there, and it sits in the water for a certain period of time and cooks it. So this recipe has been in the water for 11 hours at 150 degrees.
Are you kidding me?
Nope, it's been cooking since last night.
Wow.
And so at the end, what we'll do is I'll pull it out and put it on a tray, and then you just sear it in a pan for 5 minutes. But I do that with steaks. All the steaks that I put on Instagram are all done sous vide.
They're all done sous vide.
Yes, because it's the perfect, there's no more perfect way to cook a steak, because in the steaks that I make in the sous vide, when you cut into them, the red goes all the way to the edge. Yeah. Whereas when you're grilling it, you're actually cooking the outside and the radiant heat is cooking the inside. So with a sous vide steak, all you're doing is cooking the entire thing to a certain temperature and then searing the outside for texture, and the whole thing is done. So when I do a steak, I'm only searing it for
Don't stir. Kath, don't stir.
Oh, at all.
No.
Okay, we're going to turn to the chef in the house to instruct us. All right, how are we doing this?
A couple of tips. So this recipe is really straightforward. I guess the recipe will be in the show notes. You're basically making a scrambled egg sauce that you can just eat with like scrambled eggs. So it's really rich. I described it as it's like a cashmere blanket that you wrap around yourself on a cold winter's day.
Yes.
And I'm all for giving credit. This recipe was inspired by Gordon Ramsay, and I say inspired because I watched him do it on a Christmas TV show, like a Christmas special, and I've never been able to find it again. So I just remembered it, and I've kind of tweaked it over the years. So for ingredients, you're going to start with 2.5 eggs per serving, because 2 is never quite enough. Round up. Always round up. So 2.5 becomes 3. If you're doing 2 people, I guess you could do 5. I always kind of do 6. Yeah. Probably more butter, and I'm talking real butter, than your cardiologist would agree with. Unsalted butter.
Yes.
Always cook with unsalted butter. You can control the salt that way. Some sort of herb. This is some chopped parsley, but chives works really well. And then, so that's for the eggs. Oh, and double cream, or in America, heavy cream.
Heavy cream.
So that gets us covered on the eggs. We always serve it with toast. Kath, I know you don't do toast.
I'm doing it for Jonathan.
Only for Jonathan. And smoked salmon. So I was just starting to crack my eggs. I'm gonna show everybody a quick trick because I managed to absolutely decimate this egg. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm probably not gonna be able to pull that off. Hang on, maybe.
Oh, wait.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little bit of shell in there.
Oh yeah, good job.
If you take some other additional shell, some of your other shell, I don't know why this works, but it always does. Of course, not while I'm on TV, but
right.
Where is it? Come on. It'll pop right in there.
So I'm gonna need to get a bowl.
This is one of those. You don't need a bowl. You crack it right into the pan.
Oh, okay.
But I always crack it into a bowl because that way.
Less mess.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, you say that, just managed to make a big old mess. All right.
Right.
So Pretend I didn't take the shell out of my fingers. Pretend my trick worked.
Now, see,
What were you wanting to do there, Skip? Did you do it? Did I miss it?
I was trying to pull. See, if you crack some shell into an egg and you put
Gotcha.
the eggshell in, it didn't work, and I don't know why. And now I'm gonna have to figure out why.
now
Okay.
Skip, I will tell you, my first egg that I put in there, a little shell fell in, and I did your trick, and it worked.
Great. Thanks for the affirmation.
There we go.
Okay, so we got our eggs cracked, but the thing about this recipe is once you get started, it goes really quickly, and you have to pay constant attention to it.
Okay.
So what you want to do is you want to do all your other bits and pieces first. So if you haven't already, slice your bread. So this is a loaf I made just for you guys.
Oh wow, sourdough?
Hey, it's not sourdough.
Okay.
I always have bad luck with sourdough starter. But something I learned recently, if you've got a loaf, I don't know if you can see that, but
Yeah.
for up to 48 hours, we just keep the loaf right on the cutting board,
Yeah.
cut side down.
Oh, now that's clever.
Tastes perfect.
Okay.
See, after 48 hours, it does start to dry out. I probably should have done this before we got going.
That's all right. Skip, how did you start cooking? What was the impetus?
Actually, the credit for me starting cooking really goes back to my mom. My mom my parents split up when I was 5, and my mom's always worked. Single mom, come home from work, had to cook something for dinner. So, we had a lot of frozen meals and stuff during the week. And then on the weekends, my mom always cooked something, like Hassenpfeffer or
Right.
something really quite fancy. And when I was moving out of the house, well, actually, it started before I moved out of the house. My grandmother passed away, and my grandfather, the last couple of years of my grandmother's life, he didn't cook very much because it upset her that he had to cook.
Right.
So, he'd been living off of a lot of prepared stuff, and the man just wanted like a steak, a chicken leg.
Right.
It wasn't fancy. So my mom, bless her, she bought 2 identical toaster ovens, and she started cooking stuff in one of the toaster ovens and meticulously writing down the timings. Because my grandfather was an engineer. You give him the set of instructions, the man follows them to the letter.
Right.
And then she took the other toaster oven, still boxed up, and then we gave it to him for Father's Day or Christmas or something. And so he started cooking for himself, and that was great. And then when he passed away, we actually found all the recipe cards that my mom had made, and he'd crossed out like she'd say flip the steak over and cook it for 3 more minutes, and he crossed out 3 written in 2.5. So he got it the way he wanted it. But when I moved out of the house, my mom gave me this ring binder, which I still have, with 5 or 6, things that I could cook. A couple of them were, kind of the, you could cook this for yourself, but save it for a date kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just started there, and then, it's just something I've always kind of done. It's only in the last few years that I've kind of learned to become zen about it, and not freak out if it doesn't go perfect, and be like, if it's edible, who cares what,
Yeah, it's a win.
Yep.
My mother-in-law says if it looks pretty on the plate, it's not worth eating. I don't agree.
Our rule here is we keep the recipe unless if we hate it, pizza is for dinner.
Okay, that's your fallback.
How
That's
often
a
does that
fallback.
happen?
Never.
Yeah, I was going to say, no way.
Has never happened.
Yeah.
So now we've had some meals that are really like, I don't know if I'd make that again. But we've never gotten to the, okay, I'm ordering pizza because it sucks that bad.
So that's interesting about your father, your grandfather, and your mother, because my grandmother, both of my grandmothers were fabulous cooks, and one of them, though, she didn't work to a recipe at all, ever. And it didn't matter whether she was baking or cooking, whatever the story was, there was no recipe. And of course, there was my mother and my aunt who before me would go and literally tail her, writing frantically, okay, how much was that? That was 2 pinches. That was this. How big is a pinch, you know?
Yeah.
Right, right.
My grandma. And then I then started following suit as well and tried to. So I've still got all those handwritten notes from my grandmother. And they still are to date my favorite meals, you know, and my favorite baking.
That's great. That's awesome. I started cooking because Erica, my wife, doesn't cook. And I cooked before that, but I do it because it relaxes me. The bigger the meal, the better the zen.
Yeah, I love Thanksgiving and Christmas. But
it's awesome.
My Christmas got a lot better when I stopped cooking turkey for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, I started cooking a roast beef.
Yes.
And my Christmas has just got so much better because on Christmas, there's a lot of other stuff going on during the day. On Thanksgiving, especially here, you know, here football doesn't start until 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Right.
So your day's pretty much done before there's anything else you want to be doing. So it's okay if you spend all day in the kitchen with the turkey and, you know, all that.
Oh, yeah.
But on Christmas, you throw a beef roast in the oven, and you can go to the pub for an hour.
Yeah.
And then
I love cooking, but I don't have much patience for it. So it has to be basically 20-minute prep time. If it sits in the oven for hours, I don't really care about it, you know. So the longest thing I really have got the stamina or the motivation to do is a roast. Everything, if it's going to take longer than that, if we're talking about an hour plus prep time, you've lost me. I'm not going to do it. And
God.
You know, my family survived.
You'll love this, Kath. So like I said, try to get everything done as much as you can in advance. Little trick for your smoked salmon, if you're doing the smoked salmon, Ron, I know you're doing bacon.
I'm doing salmon too.
Oh, well, that's just greedy. Is a table knife or a palette knife is a great way to get the individual slices off these. I don't know how they do them in America, but here they come kind of, the salmon's put on a piece of cardboard and then vacuum packed.
Yeah, that's how it is here.
And they're kind of done in reverse as well, aren't they?
What's that?
They're kind of done in reverse, so you kind of have to,
Yeah, exactly. So just, you know, a piece or two of smoked salmon, make it look pretty.
By the way, Skip, I would agree. So Thanksgiving for me is the Super Bowl. It is an all-day cook that starts the day before because I brine my turkey. And then I start cooking at about 9 o'clock in the morning to eat at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
All fresh herbs, all organic ingredients.
Lots of chopping.
Lots of chopping.
You're not a deep fried turkey guy, are you?
No, I have perfected how to do it in the roasted.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at
deep fried turkey.
Oh, we've done those. They're amazing. I mean, I absolutely love a deep fried turkey.
I've never heard of it before.
Oh,
that's also a very American thing, Kath.
Oh my goodness! I know everything's.
The thing I would say is that you say deep fried turkey and you think McDonald's French fries.
Yeah.
And what actually comes out of a deep fried turkey is that the skin is the crispiest you could ever imagine, and the meat is incredibly juicy and none of it's oily.
Right.
It is simply an amazing cook.
But it's a tricky beast, and it's definitely not one that you want to try after champagne or wine or anything.
Right.
All right. So if you don't have it, if you haven't already, get your pan on the stove and preheat it to low.
Now is low or medium? Medium.
Low, as low as it'll go.
Oh, okay. So you're talking simmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is again, once we get going, things happen really quickly. So if you're putting the eggs directly into the pan, you don't want them to, especially if you're still cracking, right? You don't want to be cracking eggs and have the first one get overdone. So it's just a way to control things. And then when your pan's preheated, stick in half your butter. And I can't remember, I don't have the recipe in front of me. I think I said 20 grams of butter per serving.
Yes.
I converted it.
That's 10 grams of butter. I've got a little bit more than that, but that's okay. And you just want to melt it. Simple as. Oh, and if you, while that's melting, if you haven't started your toast, start your toast.
Really?
Wow.
Well, the problem is your option is slightly cold toast, overdone eggs, or you recruit in a toast person. I try always to have the toast assistant.
See. Now, see, Skip, I'll tell you, my mother-in-law got me a Wolf gourmet toaster.
Very nice.
That not only toasts very precisely, but it has a keep warm setting. So after it's done, you can put it back in on the keep warm and it'll keep it warm and not cook it.
Nice. Nice. Now, Kath, I'm sorry, I yelled at you earlier because you started to stir your eggs, which is what everybody does. They start to stir their eggs in a bowl.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we're not going to do that is by stirring them before you put them in the pan, you add a lot of air to them and it changes the texture. So we are going to stir them. They are going to be scrambled. We're just not going to stir them until we get them into the pan.
Okay.
So I've got a wooden spoon. Is that okay?
Yeah, you just want to be able to keep the egg from sticking to the bottom. So it doesn't, I think I said rubber spatula or wooden spoon. Anything will work. If you've got a nonstick saucepan, that's great. And that's the other thing I hadn't shown everybody, but this is a saucepan dish, not your frying pan, which is where most people do.
Oh, no, I have a skillet, so I'm screwed.
Yeah, me too. I can get one of those though instead if you want. I got that.
It's up to you guys. I did say that really clearly in the instructions though.
No,
I know I didn't follow it.
No, I triple read and I went, no, it just, well, it's a deep saucepan to me.
That's all right. I can pivot.
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, Ryan, yours looks non-stick. You're going to be laughing.
What?
I said yours looks non-stick. You're going to be laughing. It's going to be good for you.
Oh no, all my stuff's non-stick. It's all good.
Mine's not non-stick.
All right, let me get some more butter. Anybody watching this is thinking your camera angles are horrible, Phelan. You can't even see your head half the time. Well, that's what this vidcast is about. It's not professional. It's just people getting together and having fun.
So so is it a vidcast?
Vidcast, I think, is what the kids call it. Yes.
Not a podcast? I was trying to find the right hashtag for it. I couldn't find one, so I just went podcast because that's a hashtag I could find.
I have seen vidcast and vodcast.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of chose vidcast. I don't know.
VidVod podcast. How about we do that? VidVod podcast.
VidVod podcast. We could do that because if you didn't know before, we're just making this up as we go.
Ryan, we're three senior marketers. We make everything up as we go.
Yes, that's our job.
Yeah, we get paid the big bucks for that. All right, so let me tell you. Give me a shout when you all have your butter ready.
All right, we're
mine's ready.
I'm accelerating it just a little bit. So
if you pre-crack your eggs, you'll be fine.
I did.
Mine is ready.
They're sitting right there. Alexa is wanting to chime in on our activities here, by the way.
Oh, Ryan, what'd you do that for?
I don't know that one. Sorry, I don't know that one.
She's got an opinion on everything, hasn't she?
She does.
You managed to kick off 3 of those devices around the globe.
I know, and everybody watching right now is going, "Damn it!"
Yeah.
All right, butter's done.
All right, Kathy, your butter ready? Kath?
My butter's
You
ready. My butter's ready.
All right. So in go the eggs.
Okay.
Give them a bit of a stir to break up the yolks.
Okay.
And as soon as the yolks are broken up, chuck in some season with some salt and spice with some pepper.
Okay.
Also, as a caveat, I've never done this before, so follow the recipe that are in the show notes. Once you got the salt and pepper in, whack the temperature up to high.
Okay.
And just start stirring. And we're just going to stir constantly.
Okay.
And you stir for about 30 seconds or so, and then you lift it off the heat.
Now, is there a sign to which you lift it off, or is it just when you tell me to?
Just kind of go by feel. What you're really trying to do is you're trying not to cook the eggs. You want to cook the eggs quickly, but not too quickly.
Okay.
And as soon as they start to set on the bottom,
Right.
throw in your herbs,
Okay. Tell me when to pull this off the heat.
whatever chopped herb you got. And if it starts to go too quick, take it way off the heat. Just walk away from the burner.
Right.
And just keep stirring. Remember, you're trying to make a sauce. So think more sauce or custard than egg.
Okay. I like that. All right. Now mine's starting to form on the bottom.
All right. So you got your herbs in?
No.
So chuck your herbs in.
Okay. Keep stirring.
Keep stirring.
Okay. Now, should I pull it off if it's starting to form?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you kind of break up the stuff that's set already a little bit.
Right.
And then you go back on, and it'll start to set on the bottom and the sides again.
Right.
And when it does that, pull it off again, and that's when you're going to add in your double cream, your heavy cream.
Okay.
How thick is it going to be when you add the cream in?
It's still getting pretty runny.
Okay.
Whole industry is like, can these guys cook?
Can I trust them with my marketing?
Right. I mean, they're amazing on stage. Now let's see if they know what the hell they're doing in the kitchen.
Exactly.
See, this is what Instagram doesn't show.
Okay.
Just prep. All right, so when it's forming, then pour in the cream, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just keep stirring.
Okay. Stirring
lifting
off
off.
heat. Off heat?
Still do the 30 on, 30 10 off?
So there's a little bit of a feel to it with the on heat, off heat. But
Okay.
Whenever mine starts to, like when you're starting to scrape it off the bottom, I lift it off the heat and stir it, break it up a bit.
Right.
Got it.
I'm going to switch.
I'm only
to-
doing one portion, so mine's going a lot faster than yours.
Yeah, because I doubled.
Yeah, I got double too.
You're nice. You know what? I don't think people say often enough, Ryan, how nice you are. You let your in-laws move in.
I'm going to give her.
All right, so I'm gonna see if I can show this to y'all. So if you can see that, this is really hard to do. If you can see that, it's set.
Right?
Probably runnier than what most people would like to eat.
Right.
And that's when you throw in the other half of the butter.
When it's just kind of like porridge.
Yeah, porridge. Great descriptor, Ryan.
Okay.
And then you just keep stirring.
Okay.
On heat, off the heat. You want to keep it hot enough that the butter melts, but you don't want to cook too much of the egg or cook the egg too much more.
Right.
Now, by now, your toast ought to be done, and hopefully, if you had your toast caddy, Your toast caddy would be buttering your toast.
Right.
Unfortunately, my toast caddy is homeschooling, so she's, I think, in biology at the moment.
Yeah, that's what you call a sous chef.
Yes.
I have multiple sous chefs around here. When my mother-in-law cooks, I get to be the sous chef.
Now,
You're a good
so
cook. Ryan,
Yes.
is she a good cook?
Oh, she's an amazing cook. My mother-in-law is an amazing cook. I compete with her in my head all the time.
Well, so does that mean though that you take turns now?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, which is fun. She taught me. I used to make a bolognese sauce. She gave me a couple tweaks. So every time I make a bolognese sauce, I always have her taste it because I want her to tell me it's good.
So that's probably why Erica doesn't cook, because her mum was too good a cook. There was no motivation there.
Oh no, she said that. She's like, why should I cook? Although she's been doing great. She's been cooking these little dishes she finds in the magazine, and she's been doing a really, really good job. It's a couple we've added to the big cookbook.
I think I'm done.
I think I'm done too.
Yeah, I'm done. So, I'm just giving my toast a little blasted because I don't have the gourmet toaster that keeps it warm.
Right.
You know, I just got a KitchenAid.
You haven't got the wonderful mother-in-law like you do.
You know what? She is a wonderful mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law to death.
One of the reasons that I started cooking, well, not that I started cooking, but when we first met, Christy was not a very good cook, and she will freely admit that. So I'm not, I hope, going to get in trouble for saying that. She's a brilliant cook now. And she's really gotten into this British chef called Ottolenghi, who's Israeli and Mediterranean food, and a lot of it's vegetarian, and it's a lot of chopping. We spend a lot of time chopping, but their dishes come out so good. But when we first met, she would start everything at the same time. All right. So she was making like a steak and a baked potato and like broccoli. You know, a baked potato takes a good hour.
Right.
So the steak would have been on for an hour. The broccoli would have been on for an hour. The baked potato was lovely, but everything else is less so.
Okay.
All right, let's check the toast. Toast is done. Ow! That hurt.
Start serving.
Kitchen fingers.
Now, see, I'm an American. I put peanut butter on my toast.
Not for this. Not for this.
Oh, come on. What do I put? Just butter?
Yes.
No.
If you put peanut butter, that adds another flavor to the dish.
All right. I will acquiesce to the chef.
Wait on, Ryan. You say you put peanut butter, and then you put the eggs on.
No, I just have toast and peanut butter.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of peanut butter toast, and actually, a peanut butter. Ryan, one of the things that you probably don't know, and Americans wouldn't know, we can't get grape jelly here.
Really?
I am still smuggling. Well, smuggling. I bring in Welch's grape jelly, and anybody that goes to America, I said, "Oh, can you buy me some of this?"
Right.
I've had some of my British friends be like, "So I was talking to the person I was staying with, and they're like, really?" I'm like, "Yep, that's what I want."
Say hi. You're on camera. There's the wife. Erica was.
Can you start serving now? I'm a bit nervous about you telling me off again.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, serve.
Hey, Erica, tell your folks there's eggs down here. Tell them I'm also on camera, so.
So, I don't want to out anybody, but what other kind of hobbies do you guys have lined up?
We have not, we're still going each person. And last time Kate showed us how to carve into linoleum.
Hey, that's her hobby.
Yeah, she did art. And we have a couple other calls to figure out what people want to do.
Which Kate?
Kate Kramer.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes much more sense. I was thinking about Kate Barrett, and I'm like,
Oh no.
really?
Jonathan, here you go.
I feel really bad.
Why?
Well, because you guys all cooked for people in your house, and my people are all like, I'm like, yeah, I need the kitchen for 2 hours.
Right.
But to be fair, it is almost 3 o'clock, so
Right.
they wouldn't have liked that.
Okay.
All right, my in-laws are coming to pick up their breakfast.
Well, one thing we didn't discuss, how are we going to eat and talk at the same time?
Well, like all TV shows, you take one bite, you're like, it's great. And then,
It's great. It's
Let's
wonderful.
do it then.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, let's try this.
Show me
Oh,
what
that's
yours
really
looks
good.
like.
There's mine. How do I get this? There we
Mine
go.
is really, because of that egg.
Oh, yeah.
Very orangey, but they were really, really yellow yolks.
Oh, I forgot my bacon. Here we go.
Oh yeah, your bacon.
I'm not going to cook it because we're almost out of time, but there's the bacon. Thick cut smoked American bacon.
Okay.
So we were all supposed to be at a conference last week.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say, sorry, we were all supposed to be at a conference recently because God only knows when this is going to go out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd spent a good afternoon kind of making a foodie trail
Oh, really?
for us to follow.
In Vegas?
Yeah, we were going to come home very fat and happy. And so
I love
I'm really
that.
really disappointed that we didn't get to do that.
It's it's a very, very foodie city, isn't it? The restaurants are amazing there.
Yeah. Well, Skip saved that because I don't know about anybody else, but one of the first trips I'm taking after all this crap is over is London.
Yeah, baby.
Oh,
To see all you guys because I miss you all. And, not that I don't mind not being on a plane, but I would love to have the option to come see you guys.
Yeah.
It's I have to say, everybody's dealt with the pandemic in different ways. I did an interview with a journalist the other day, and I was saying that we're fortunate. The pandemic has not been horrible for us. It's been great. My daughter usually is in boarding school during the week, and she's been home, which has been wonderful. We've been home every day. The pace of life has slowed down. And it's during normal times you can have a slow pace of life. That's just a personal choice. But you sort of end up with a bit of FOMO. It's like, oh, well, I could go out to this restaurant, or I could go to this networking event. Now you don't have a choice, and so it takes some of that FOMO, some of that mental health pressure away.
Yeah.
Obviously, with everything else that's going on, with the protests and the tragic death of George Floyd, it's I get the sense that a lot of people's mental health is like right at the edge, like
It is.
right there.
It was reflected in a poll that was put out yesterday that said 80% of Americans think the country is out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, by watching the news, because I'm a news junkie, right? Just by watching the news and Facebook and all the social media and stuff, I feel on edge.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine, people that are closer to this, or everybody has this collective. It's almost like we went from the shared collective experience of COVID into a hyper shared collective of George Floyd. and racism and discussions on race and all this stuff. And I don't know. I need to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, I found the same as you, Skip. It's kind of like COVID almost gave me the permission, the license to just enjoy being home and not feel, not feel like I'm missing out, not feel like I should be, here I am home again. I'm just loving it. I'm like, I'm home. And, just enjoying my space, enjoying, just being here. But yeah, this last couple of weeks with the whole Black Lives Matter, that I have been on such edge. I went to a protest on Sunday, peaceful protest, where we did 2 meter social distancing and everything like that. It was really, really good. I mean, there were who knows how many people it was on TV. And I was at the very end though. And that kind of, it has helped me a bit, I think it's released it. I think it's helped to release that angst I've been feeling about all of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that was my very first really big sort of, outing, shall we say.
Yeah. And we had a lot of discussions here about should we go, should we not go? We actually, we came down to, well, let's not go. My wife and I are both very active on social. And we thought, we can potentially do as much good or more good by just amplifying the message there. But also, one of the things that I've been feeling is there is some stuff that I was aware of. There was some stuff I wasn't aware of. It's, that I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. What the worrying part is I don't know what I don't know too. So it's been a lot, I've been spending a lot of time reading, seeking out new information. And I've been trying to base it on people I know and people I trust. But obviously that has its own disadvantages as well. So, taking myself out and going out and just exploring and looking at something critically and saying, actually, I get it. That makes perfect sense. Or I wonder if this is the best resource. And then you have to go sort of fact check the resource to find out if it's,
right. If it's valid.
And if it's portraying the situation properly. So it's, it's such a trite thing to say that we live in interesting times, but because I think at the end of the day, all times are interesting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I'm really, really hoping this is going to not be just, they're saying, let's make this into a movement and not just let it be a moment, right? Because this actually has got the potential of being like in the 60s. So something quite powerful and something where another step in the process of change will happen. And I'm doing the same as you, Skip. I've got a whole heap of books that I've been reading. I've been reading them for the last couple of years. And one of the ones that I really recommend, if anyone's out there who is white, who's looking to see how you can become an ally, how you can be doing more, is White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. It's absolutely brilliant. So really encourage you to read that.
I'll be honest on all this. A bunch of friends and Kath were in a discussion last week, which was incredibly eye-opening. And actually, Kath, to your credit, you've taught me a lot. The resources to go look at, the perspective to think about. You taught me a lot on that Friday chat we had. And I was thankful for that. And I've done a lot of listening. But I also am going to start reading that book and digging into stuff because.
And to be honest, that's the first step. Be open, and then it's all just going to and have the right attitude, basically, and the right desire. So, yeah, I mean, I do. I hope this turns into a significant moment. I mean, movement rather than just that moment. So,
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think, so it's funny. My daughter's 14 and has always been very, very politically aware. I wish one of my, I don't really do regrets. One of the things I regret was the morning after the Brexit vote, she came in and she said, "So what happened?" I said, "We're out." And she swore at me and said that I was kidding. It wasn't a funny joke, Dad. And said, "I'm not kidding, we're out." And she went on an 18-minute monologue, diatribe, worthy of the West Wing, about how nobody over 35 should have been allowed to vote. And here's Christy, by the way.
Hi, sorry, I just want some water.
Hey, Christy.
thanks for lending us your kitchen.
That's okay. I was desperate for a cup of tea about half an hour ago, but I was like, I'm not going in there.
You want a mimosa?
How did it go? Are you drinking?
Well, they had mimosas, so I had one here.
Oh wow.
He did it because we have him. It's not his fault.
No, peer pressure. Peer pressure.
Was it okay?
Yeah, I think so.
It still is. We're still going.
I'm bleeding. Right. Okay. Hey, thanks for coming.
I still want a cup of tea.
Anyway,
All right.
so she went on this 18-minute diatribe that, you know, Aaron Sorkin literally could have written about everything. And so she's always been really, you know, politically aware and politically astute. And just having her here through all of this has been quite eye-opening. One of the things that she, you know, when I say something very dad-like or very middle-aged man-like, she calls me a boomer.
Right.
And I'm like, "Sweetheart, I'm not a boomer. Dad's not a baby boomer. I'm younger than that. Your grandparents are baby boomers." But I think one of the benefits of where we are at the moment, Kath, to your point of wanting it to keep going, wanting the movement to keep going, is, you know, our parents went through the first wave in 1968, right? So, you know, in 1968, one of the ways that in America Richard Nixon came to power was that he was basically talking to all the people who had grown up in the generation before, right? Mm-hmm. They'd fought in the war, but you know, it wasn't just systemic racism, it was out and out racism. Right. Blatant, in your face racism. Right. And he was talking to those people about law and order. And hopefully this time, because, you know, we're a couple of generations on from that, I think we can get some, I'm hoping we can get some sustainability and there isn't the, you know, that fallback position, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Well, this went deep.
This went deep, and we're at our time. We're actually, if you have hung in here till the end, send us an email at us@uncorkedanduncut.com, and we will recognize you on the next episode. Because if you've hung in this long, you are a dedicated person, and we want to recognize that. So us@uncorkedanduncut.com. Kath, anything to close us out?
No, I mean, we've got a Facebook page as well, which I believe Skip has promoted too in his tweet. So, you know, we'd love it if you started following that. And, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's really sound very, you know.
And hit the like button. It takes 2 seconds. You're not doing anything. You've made it this far. Hit the like button.
Exactly. And you know what? We can guarantee that each one is going to be quite different. So, you know, tune in, not just conversations, but things that we're doing with everyone. Unique personalities, you know. So come on in and get to know more of the people in our industry.
Yep. Skip, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been fun.
Thank you, guys. It's been, like I said, the most surreal experience ever, but it's been a good time.
That's brilliant. And great recipe. Oh, and we'll be posting the recipe as well, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one is going into the book, but I do want to point out to the people at home, Skip sent this to us in advance, and I just want to note that at the bottom of it, it says confidential. So
Yes.
It's not confidential.
it's not confidential, but this is actually going in my big book. So this is great, Skip. Thank you so much, and to everybody at home, stay safe and stay energized. And drop us a note if you want to. If you want to join this fun, drop us a note at us at uncorkedanduncut.com. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you very much to Skip and my partner in crime, Kath, who I adore. We'll talk to you later.
Bye. Thanks, Skip.
Cheers.